my beautiful people, I asked this question why a lot of the dead are, you know, they are still on the other side, but they haven't crossed over. And apparently, so the doors haven't been opened in decades, in years. The white light that the dead always see, and then they cross over, and then they get to live with their ancestors. I've been to that world so many times, but the door has been locked, completely locked, guys. A lot of our grandmothers, our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, aunts, they haven't crossed over. Some of us, not all of us. Some of us are lucky, My grandmother, she was a God-fearing woman, Christian through and through. But she didn't cross over until I helped her cross over. Until I found the ancestors and I said, guys, why is she not coming in? And they were like, she wasn't talking to us. And I was like, what are you talking about? Is everybody excluded? Everybody who never gave you guys attention? Are you telling me that as long as nobody was communicating with ancestors, then they can't cross over? Or is it just my situation? And they said, you'll see it in the future. So my grandmother, I think she died in 2018. I know this because I got a car and then she passed on young. Yeah, it was 2018. And so I remember when I got activated and she activated me and she was like, hey, can you help me cross over? And I was like, what the hell is crossing over? What does that mean? And it's like, where are the ancestors? And I said, can't you see them? Are they not on the other side? She said, no, I can't see them. It's nothing but darkness here. I was like, why would you be in darkness? You were good, you were this, you were that, I searched everybody in my family spiritually, guys. I did. And she was good. And I was like, why didn't you cross over? And she's like, well, when you die, you start seeing the truth. What's real? Religion, if it's real or not. I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm not talking about the Bible again, guys. But she said, no, they're not here. And I said, that means your mother, your grandmother, right? Did they ever connect to the ancestors? And they were like, no, my grandmother used to connect to ancestors, yada, 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 yada. And then she's like, can you see where the ancestors are? And then I called the ancestors. And I was like, you mean these people? They're like, yeah, those are ancestors. I was like, oh, they're huge. I'm like, they're terribly huge. He's like, okay, can you please ask them to let me in? And I begged the ancestors. I said, can you please open the door? And they said, why? And they were like with anger, like, why? And I'm like, that's my grandmother. And it's like, did she teach you spirituality? And I said, no. It's like, do you know anything about us? I was like, not unless you tell me. No, I don't know much about you. And they said, exactly. Grandmothers, grandfathers, their job is to teach you about our ways, how we work. And what did she teach you? And I said, the Bible. She said, okay. Then she should wait for heaven. I was like, okay, y'all need to calm down. That's when I learned that I was a peacemaker. Because I was like, nah, I'm so sorry. She didn't know. Obviously, we didn't know. And also, you can't blame us for that. You cannot blame us for Christianity. You can't. Colonizers did all that. But you cannot blame us. And also, there's a whole generation of ancestors that I am scared to connect to. The ones that always make you cry. I'm so terrified to connect with those ancestors. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, my grandmother did cross over. They forgave her. And that's when I was like, can you please give me more information about spirituality? Because clearly we're lost. We don't know what we're doing and all that. And they even taught me about the old life, like the old ways. Like, we had technology, we had electricity. This thing, yeah, witchcraft of flying and 1, 2, 3 was how we controlled technology. It wasn't run by this thing that is toxic to the earth, you know? No nuclear, no blah, blah, blah. They had functioning trucks that they created. What you call witchcraft apparently was not evil. So every time you see a witch, just hate them a little more. Because one thing is, black on black violence has always been the one thing that will disconnect you to ancestors or your whole family. You know why ancestors push for family gatherings? Because when you are together, we are more powerful spiritually and physically. Because we are happy, you know? And that happiness creates this, I don't know how to put it, but it's like this frequency and vibration. But I'm going to have to delete this video at some point because, you know, it's going to get me in trouble. But either way, I did wonder. And now in consultations, bruh, like, you have no idea. You would call me and tell me, like, I would call you and tell you, like, okay, Shap, we have your ancestors here, 1, 2, 3. And you're like, I want to talk to my mom. And I freeze a little bit because, Jesus Christ, I might not find her. I might not find her on the other side, but I will look and search and I will find her not with the ancestors, not crossed over. And then I would cry a little bit because it means that my job just got really hard. I have to help you cross over. And I have to beg. I have to beg. And you know the multitasking that happens in consultations with me? Yes, sis. Because I'm listening to you, but I'm also talking to your ancestors on the other side. And I have to answer you according to the way you understand in the physical realm. And I also have to talk to them and be, like, my mind has to be in a spiritual realm, you know, to talk to them and everything. 95% of the time, I don't find the dead crossed over. 95% of the time. There's only 5%, I think, where I found people's family relatives who passed on crossed over. And that would happen if there's a sangoma in the house, or, you know, because if there's a sangoma or a prophet who's a practicing prophet or a medium, then the ancestors use that person to forgive the spirits, you know, the ones that died. I could be wrong. I never want to claim that I'm 100% correct. I could be wrong. I could be corrected. But this was my experience. This is what I saw. A lot of our people haven't crossed over, you know? And I really do believe that ancestors have no right to be angry at us about colonization. We didn't do that. You should hear how my niece talks. She was in grade 8 last year, and she was reading a textbook that says that South Africa has a lot of gold and all that kind of stuff. And she literally says, you know what that means? It means that South Africa must be the richest country in the world. And I said, oh, I froze. And it's like, wait a minute, why did they, and she like, when I explained colonization to her, she was like, why did they let, white people do that to us? And I was like, they didn't let them, they were bullied into it. It's like, no, they should have done more. And I was like, I know, but they didn't, they couldn't, obviously. They were not violent. And then violent people just come through with guns and bombs and stuff, you know? Unfortunately, they were ambushed. Anyway, like I said, I could be wrong. It's just a sad thing that I encountered that stressed me a little bit.